devotees, thank you all for joining today. So we have a very special speakers. So Sri Chaitanya Prabhu and Lalita kunda mataji. So they're wonderful devotees as part of our congregation. So they do a lot of services. They have been doing services for our temple for many years. One notable service, there are many, but many are there, but notable service is they're preaching in UT Austin. So they have been doing this for many years very successfully, just to please Guru and Krishna. Very surrendered, very humble devotees. So I'm very honored to introduce them today. With that, let us welcome Sri Chaitanya Prabhu and Lalita kunda mataji by loudly chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Prabhu and Lalita kunda mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you very much for inviting us to lead a discussion today. With that, we wanted to talk about a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 2. Before we do that, we wanted to say the prayers.
The invocation prayers.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, before we go into the shloka, we always sing the prayers. So, do you want to?
Yeah.
So, we are actually giving this lecture from outside Prabhu. We are sitting in Arkansas, so it's very nice. Even Arkansas gets to hear the Harinam this weekend. And so we are straight away just going to jump into the shloka for that reason. So we want to just start the shloka?
Yeah. So today we will be discussing chapter 12, verse 2. And I will just say the shloka, and then some couple of our devotees can repeat those after us. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Maya Vesya Mano Emam
Maya Vesha Mano Emam
Nitya Yukta Upasate
Nitya Yukta Upasate
Shraddhaya Parayopetas
Shraddhaya Parayopetas
Te me yuktatama manaha mataha.
Me yuktatma mataha. I will say one more time, then we can invite another a male devotee and a female devotee to repeat after, to say the shloka again. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Vesha Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Mema Yuktatma Mataha. Can somebody please volunteer to say the shloka?
I can try, Mataji.
Yes.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Vesha Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Tame Yukta Tamamataha.
Thank you, Prabhu. One more Mataji, please.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Vesha Mano Evam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Te Me Yukta Tamamataha.
Thank you, devotees. We'll like to read the translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect. Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Would a devotee like to read the purport?
In answer to Arjuna's question, Krishna clearly says that he who concentrates upon his personal form and who worships him with faith and devotion is to be considered most perfect in yoga. For one in such Krishna consciousness, there are no material activities because everything is done for Krishna. A pure devotee is constantly engaged. Sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or read books about Krishna, or sometimes he cooks prasadam, or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna, or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. Such action is in full samadhi.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was a wonderful reading of Srila Prabhupada's purport.
So if we all think about Bhagavad Gita overall, all of the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita focus on bhakti. The first 6 chapters talk about karma and how karma leads to bhakti. And the last 6 chapters talk about jnana and how jnana leads to bhakti. So, and the middle 6 chapters, they focus on bhakti themselves. So after seeing the virtual roop of Krishna on the 11th chapter, Arjuna is asking another question. He's asking, what about the personal aspect of the absolute truth? So if we go back to chapter 9, verse 15, Krishna is explaining the types of people who do Jnana Yoga. Chapter 9, verse 15 says, Jnana yajnena chapiyani yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prathakvena bahuda vivasvato mukham. So in that, the reason we are talking about chapter 9, verse 15 is to understand the connection between chapter 9, verse 15 and the current verse, 12:22, where he is explaining further. So in chapter 9, verse 15, this is where Krishna says there are 3 ways that people do Jnana Yajna. 1, people worship Krishna through sacrifice of knowledge. The second is through the worship of demigods, pratakvena bahuda. And the third is ekatvena, oneness. What is the whole concept of worshiping of the absolute truth in the impersonal manifestation? Thinking of one as one with the absolute truth. This is what Arjuna is further asking to be elaborated explicitly in his question, which precedes this answer by Sri Krishna. So, if you look at the entire flow of chapter 12, verse 1 is where Arjuna is asking the question of the people who worship your impersonal manifestation versus your personal manifestation, which of these are the most perfect? He is not questioning whether or not they are there is one that is imperfect. While both are perfect, which one is more dearer to Krishna is what he is asking. So in all of chapter 12, it is verse 1 to 7 is focused about how worship of the personal form is superior to the impersonal Brahman. Verses 8 to 12 talk about progressive stages of bhakti. And then verses 13 to 20 focuses on the qualities that endear one to Krishna. So let's restart from Arjuna's question. Chapter 12, verse 1 talks about Arjuna vacha evam satata yuktaye bhaktastam pariyupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Arjuna is asking here, who are the perfect in yoga? While both of them are on the transcendental path between those who follow bhakti and devotional service, through serving your personal form or the impersonalists, who are the most perfect? So in essence, which worshippers are better situated and better united with you is the question that Arjuna is asking. The question is, those who are the worshippers of impersonal aspect or those who are the worshippers of the personal aspect. So I was laying down the foundation of this conversation that Arjuna and Krishna, the Lord himself, is having here. So I was giving you where we started in the chapter 9, verse 15 to where we are here in chapter 12, verse 2, where Krishna is now explaining why the personal form devotees who follow bhakti yoga and worship the personal form is far superior than the impersonal form, is what I was discussing so far. I would now like Lalita kunda mataji Devidasi to talk about the verse itself.
So till now, as Sri Chaitanya Das discussed, he gave you a very nice context as to why Arjuna is questioning what we have studied till now and what Krishna is establishing himself. So Krishna is establishing worshipping of the personal aspect very explicitly in this shloka. So, and he replies in such a way that it removes all ambiguities without any interpretation. So one of the words that is used in the shloka is Shraddhaya Pariyopetas, right? Shraddhaya is what? Faith. And what is Pariyopetas? Transcendental. So the faith is transcendental. So here I would like to talk as we progress further a little bit about our impersonal or Mayavadi philosophies, what it is, what are some of the misconceptions, why we get into it. And then I will further expand on the faith aspect of it. So Mayavadis have this idea, and I have experienced this myself actually, that you have to fix your mind on the form till they become transcendental. And after that, they can leave the form and go to the formless. But actually, it is not true. And I remember in one of the, before I got introduced to Krishna consciousness, during my days when I was pursuing my master, my PhD at Penn State, I went into one of those meditating areas, where they tell you to just close your eyes and just meditate. And I'm like, how can you just close your eyes and meditate? There are so many things that are coming into my mind. And they said, oh, okay, for that form, let's just put a photo of Lord Shiva. And that's what they did. And they had a candlelight burning. And now you look at the candle and you focus and you meditate. And it was extremely hard for me. And it's only after coming to Krishna consciousness and reading Srila Prabhupada's books that I realized what they were trying to do and why is it wrong and where I was going. And thank God, we were able to get introduced to this, Krishna consciousness, that I could understand it. So in this shloka, what the Lord has said is Shraddhaya Pariyopetha. So with transcendental faith, it means when we become transcendental, we have to fix the mind on Krishna only. You cannot just fix your mind on nothingness. And that is what I really like about Krishna consciousness, that you actually think about Krishna, activities related to Krishna, worship about Krishna, listen to Krishna's songs, because your senses cannot just focus on anything. They should be focused towards the right thing. You cannot just go into nothingness. So expanding further on that, so sometimes the Mayavadis say that, in this shloka, there is no word like rupa, which is used, right? Which talks about the personal form. But if we look in this shloka, Krishna has used the specific forms, word mam and mai. And there is no impersonal light that is speaking to Arjuna. It is Krishna who is speaking to Arjuna. So mam actually means Krishna himself. So this unambiguous confirmation that Krishna provides the bhakti or the devotional service is dearer to me. This is very clearly established by Krishna, and that guarantees achieving him. There's another aspect I wanted to talk about, right? Why do people get attracted towards this concept of just focusing on the nothingness? It's because, as people are young, and you have seen, right, our heart actually naturally longs to move outwards in search of objects which are worthy of love. However, this search often ends in misery when those we live don't live up to our hopes. And people who get burnt by such distressing experiences, they start fearing love. And such people, they put a lock on their hearts, a padlock, not letting themselves emotionally touch or be touched by anyone. When they explore the life's spiritual side, actually, they start gravitating towards these depersonalized depictions. After all, if the absolute truth were an impersonal effulgence and spiritual perfection meant the dissolution of individual personal identity by merging into that effulgence, then there would be no scope for love, right? And then the risk that we face of pain when things don't go our way. But actually, what our love needs is not this lock, not this padlock, right? But it needs a purificatory pathway. Such fear-driven philosophization about spirituality, it may sound safe to some, but it's actually very life-denying. And it perpetually locks your heart. So what an impersonalist or Mayavadi thinks of as protection, it's actually what? Suppression of our loving nature. And it ends up becoming very restrictive. And actually, I would say that impersonalists sentence themselves to this eternal emotional deprivation, right? Feeling nothing, living largely like a stone. So the loving for love dies. The longing for this love is actually at the core of our being, right? We want to love and be loved. We want to have friends. We are very warm people. And when you deny this very aspect of it, that means you are just, you deny the very sentience that defines our existence. So to me, and in my experience, impersonalism is a self-chosen spiritual deprivation. And actually, Bhagavad Gita 12.05, it cautions that obsession with impersonal conceptions. And it tells us that if you take such path, it actually makes following the spiritual path very, very difficult. In fact, if we go through the whole of Gita, the wisdom, it indicates that what our love needs is not a lock, not a padlock, but a purificatory pathway, like I said earlier. And spiritual perfection does not require an incarceration of love, because to me that's getting lost. But it actually requires a redirection towards Krishna, which is the highest manifestation of the absolute truth. He's actually the transcendental source of this impersonal effulgence. So why would you want to go for effulgence, right? You should go after the source of that effulgence. That makes more sense to me. And we are souls, we are his eternal parts, and we are meant to delight with him in this eternal harmony of love. So our longing for love, when reposed in him, then it attains perfection and it attains perennial fulfillment. So I wanted to just bring this aspect of the discussion because there are a lot of young folks who are going through college or will be, and they will have such experiences where their expectations might not be met. But please don't go towards that, if I didn't get my expectations, I will never fall into that only, Please come towards Krishna, as that would be the ultimate fulfillment. So with that discussion, we've already established what form of worship is more dearer to Krishna. It is his personal form. That's it, he likes. And which type of devotees are better, between those who worship Krishna as the unmanifest or those who worship him as the one endowed with the form? So it is one endowed with the form. So as chapter 12, further goes on, we will also, Krishna begins to describe the devotees who actually worship his Ishvara form. And he says that such devotees are the most superior yogis because they're constantly engaged in the worship of Ishvara, full of supreme faith. So we are going to discuss a little bit more on this aspect, right? So we are going to now focus on the part on the qualities of the devotees who worship this personal form of Krishna. So 3 qualities of a superior yogi are highlighted in this shloka. First, we as devotees should be able to fix our mind on Krishna using all the instructions that have been given in chapter 6 and all other places, right? We, by offering prasadam, by meditation, by chanting, by serving devotees. All these are different forms of focusing our mind on Krishna only. We are cooking for Krishna, we are doing bhoga for Krishna. So in the initial stages, even if you're trying to meditate, we can follow that also. Even focusing our mind on Krishna for 10 minutes is quite an achievement actually. So what is required is your complete focus on him. Another aspect of the quality that is highlighted here is Nitya Yukta. Nitya means constant. So the ability to remain constantly engaged in worship without letting the mind divert itself to other pursuits. That is the second aspect, which is really important. And finally, the third aspect is that you need to be endowed with supreme and unwavering faith. So even though these qualities that I outline might seem easy on the surface, they're actually not. And that's why Krishna is choosing his words very carefully to indicate that he's looking for the highest kind of concentration and faith. For example, he's using the word aveshya to describe concentration. But what it really means is using our thoughts that is coming to enter, to penetrate into that object of concentration. And that kind of concentration really requires a highly purified mind, which is free from selfish likes and dislikes, from attachment to material concerns. So our degree of faith actually reinforces the ability to remain focused on our object of concentration. So these are all very packed statements that I've laid down today. And we'll try to unpack these a little bit more. So I wanted to talk about the faith part of the concentration because as I described earlier, what is really important is not only your concentration, but a highly purified mind. So I wanted to read a commentary from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from Sarartha Varshini Tika, which is the innermost intention of the commentary named the shower of essential meanings. To describe this a little bit further. So Shri Bhagwan responds to Arjuna's question in the verse that we were talking, in the previous verse by saying, my devotees are the best of yogis with faith that is free from the influence of modes of material nature. Fix their minds on my Shyamasundara form, being ever desirous to unite with me. So let's go to, this is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam in verse 11.25.27. So it says, Satvike adhyatmiki shraddha, karma shraddha tu rajasi, tamasi adharmeya shraddha, matsevyam tu nirguna. So the translation of this verse is, since we are talking about faith, faith directed towards spiritual life is in the mode of goodness. Faith rooted in fruitive work is in the mode of passion. Faith residing in irreligious activities is in the mode of ignorance. But faith in my devotional service is purely transcendental. So once again, I'd like to read the shloka again. Satviki adhyatmiki shraddha, karma shraddha tu rajasi, tamasi adharmeya shraddha, matsevyam tu nirguna. So basically, faith that focuses upon the self or the Atma is in the material mode of goodness, Sattva Guna. Faith that has karma or action as its focus is in the material mode of passion, which is Rajoguna. And faith that has irreligious activities as its focus is in the material mode of ignorance, Tamoguna. But that faith that has service to me as its object and focus is Nirguna, completely free from material modes of nature. So this present verse actually states that my exclusive devotees are Yuktatma, the best of devotees. So from this, it can be concluded that compared to exclusive devotees, others such as those whose bhakti is mixed with jnana or karma are only classified as yog vittara, those who know yoga. They are not yog vittatma, the best of those who know yoga. Thus bhakti is superior to jnana, and within bhakti, ananya bhakti or exclusive devotion is supreme. And that is what this commentary is establishing. There is one more that I wanted to read. This is by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and the explanation illuminates the commentary name Sarartha Varshini. So Bhagwan Shri Krishna was greatly pleased to hear Arjuna's question and said, I accept as the best of yogis. This is again repeating the same thing. Only those who constantly worship me with transcendental faith and unalloyed devotion, who fix their mind on my Shyamasundara form. So in reality, the topmost yogis are the unalloyed devotees. The yogis whose bhakti is mixed with jnana and karma are inferior to them. That is why Bhakti Yoga is therefore superior to Jnana Yoga, because it is by Bhakti Yoga alone that one performs pure and exclusive devotion. And that's why when we talk about Shraddha, right, Shraddha and faith, the word Shraddha mentioned in the verse is staunch faith, as in the statements of Shastra, Guru, and Bhagwan. It is also said in Sri Charita Amrita, Madhya Leela 22.62, Shraddha sabde vishwasa kahe sudhrida nishchaya Krishne bhakti kale sarva karma krita haya. So Shraddha is the staunch faith that merely by the performance of bhakti to Sri Krishna, everything is accomplished. This is so beautiful. Shraddha is the staunch faith that merely by the performance of bhakti to Sri Krishna, everything is accomplished. Elsewhere, it is also said, Shraddhatve anupaya varjam krishnona mukhi chitta vritti visheshaha. So the tendency of the mind that is directed only towards Krishna and that is free from any desire to follow other processes is called Shraddha. So this is actually a redefinition of Shraddha. Chitti vritti visheshaha. Krishnonamukhi chitta vritti vishesha. The tendency of the mind to that is directed only towards Krishna. And then we already talked about Srimad Bhagavatam 11.25.27, which described the types of faith. So, which is, just repeating, faith in the scriptures that deal with the science of the self is the mode of goodness, and faith related to fruitive activities is in the mode of passion, and faith in sinful acts is in the mode of tamogun. Yeah. So here it should be understood that the word nirguna that we talked about, it actually means transcendental and beyond material qualities, aprakrit. It does not mean bereft of all qualities. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that out. Therefore, a bhakti yogi endowed with faith that is beyond the modes of nature, that is the best kind of faith. So that was a description we wanted to describe as part of this shloka. So I think it's a very short lecture. That's all we had. Did devotees want to further have any reflections or questions that they might want to share with us?
Thank you, Lalita kunda mataji and Chaitanya Prabhu. Such a nice class, very wonderful class. And you pointed out the very great point that, I really liked it, that three qualities, that the one, we need to do the constant practice. That is where I am lacking, Mataji. One day I'm doing attentive chanting, another day it goes down, the thoughts goes everywhere. So really, really nice point. Thank you so much for, enlightening us that we need to doing the constant bhakti practice. Such a wonderful class, Mataji. Thank you again, Prabhuji and Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Did anybody else have any realizations they wanted to share or any questions? I'm sure Satyasar Prabhu will be more qualified to answer those questions than us, actually. Okay, looks like we have very elevated yogis over here, which already know a lot. Thank you for giving us a chance to actually express ourselves. Please forgive if we made any mistakes. Satyasar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for wonderful class. Let me check once again, Mataji, if anyone have questions in the temple room, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu. Actually, in the beginning, we were thinking that this might take time, so we didn't even sing Jai Radha Madhav, and we delved straight into the lecture.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Devotees, if you have any questions, you can ask, or if you want to share any reflections on this particular verse, on this class. Any other questions, comments?
We have more time. Right.
Okay, so we'll do after.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Hare Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Prabhu and Lalita kunda mataji. Looks like no questions. We understood whatever you said. Completely no doubt. So thank you very much for explaining it so well. And thank you for giving this class while you are on vacation. So thank you, and nice to see all of you. And there is Amma and Papaji is there too. Please bless us. And Hare Krishna Gopal. So beautiful class. Really thoroughly enjoyed the context that Prabhu has set before talking about 12.2. And Mataji, you spoke about 12.2 very, very beautifully, and you did the compare and contrast of the impersonalism, especially Mayavadis, and the personalism. And the points you made was really fantastic. And that, so yeah, thank you very much, and thank you all. Hare Krishna. So with that, we are going to go with the next segment of our program, which is going to be Arati. So Pujari is going to be Satyarupa Prabhu, and we have a fantastic Kirtanier, Sevya and Vandya going to do Arati, and Samanvita is going to support. And Justin is going to play Mridanga. So please tune into this temple window, and please watch Arati online. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्दा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे